You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 274, How to Leave an Unhealthy Relationship and Stand in Your Standards. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful brave hearts. I hope you're having a great day. I actually just got off a coaching call and I had to come here and immediately record this podcast for you because it covers three really important topics that have been brought up to my attention by multiple different people. And they could technically be three separate podcast episodes, but they're so closely tied together that I want to talk about them here. So I want to talk to you today about three things that are kind of related. The first thing is building up courage to leave when you think it's easier to stay in a relationship, standing in your standards and self-respect, as well as, how what you think about yourself today will actually determine what actions and who you are tomorrow. Okay? So important. What you think about yourself today will determine what actions you take tomorrow. So I know that there are many of you who listen who are almost like pre-breakup, we might call it, or you've even broken up, but you keep holding out hope for this person to change and come back. And listen, I get it. I've been there. I have done that. I've helped so many people in that situation. So no shame on that game. We get it. We're here for you. I just did a coaching call with someone, one of my favorite clients. She has a child with the person she's been holding out hope for, and she loves him, and that's okay. But he's also, for the most part, been super condescending and dismissive when we're honest with ourselves about it, okay? She came to me wanting to let go of hope for this person because he's just not who she wants to have as a partner, right? And when I asked her why she wanted to let go of this person, she said she wanted to let go of this person and, let go of him ever changing because then maybe she would finally start standing in her standards. But when we broke it all down, here's what we found. She had mentioned that to her, letting go of someone really equated to being cold because that's what she had done in the past, which she didn't want to do. Remember, she co-parents with this person. It's the father of her child. And I know her pretty well at this point. She's not a cold person. Not at all. She's the opposite of a cold person. She co-parents with this person. It would be very unaligned and inauthentic of her to act cold towards really anyone, let alone someone she shares a child with. So letting go doesn't mean she has to be cold. Okay? Letting go of hope doesn't mean you have to be cold. Letting go of someone doesn't mean you have to be cold. Letting go doesn't mean she has to stop having loving thoughts or feelings towards her co-parent either. Of course she has love for him and she can be warm. And at the same time, she can let go of the fact that this is not the relationship for her as it stands today. And with that being said, what was happening though was how she was thinking about herself in certain situations was really cultivating a practice of being someone who does not stand in their standards. And it was perpetuating her belief about herself, which totally makes sense, right? What we think creates how we feel, and those feelings fuel our behavior and how we show up and act in the world. And that will then perpetuate the problem and be a direct reflection of what you believe and think about yourself. So a real life example of this that I've seen in many of my clients, not just her, is someone, your ex, treats you poorly. Maybe they're dismissive, maybe they're condescending, or they just act in unhealthy ways and do stuff that you're just like, I would never allow that in my life, but for some reason, I allow this in my life with this person. And beautiful brave hearts, I have so much love for you in my heart, right? And perhaps there might be someone, doing these things to you. They're being dismissive, they're being condescending, they're being unhealthy, and you don't leave the situation immediately, right? You continue to talk to them, or you continue to have sex with them or entertain the relationship in hopes that they're going to get better and in hopes they're going to change. And I totally get that. But here's the problem. When they do that, so like when individuals do that, it's not necessarily a problem that they're doing that. Like, of course, we don't want to be doing that. We want to change that behavior. However, the part that keeps us in a perpetual state of doing things we know we don't want to be doing is what you make it mean about yourself. And more often than not, I see people make it mean, I have no standards, I have no self-respect. Especially when it's a cycle that they've seen and they can see it from the outside, but they're just not taking different action. And here's what happens. When you think and believe, I have no self-respect, I have no standards, you feel unworthy, shameful, icky about yourself. And when we feel that way about ourselves, we do more of what we don't want. It perpetuates the problem. We stand in our standards less when we're feeling unworthy and shameful and icky. We participate in negative self-talk. We beat ourselves up. We seek approval from the very person who's dismissing us. We have sex with them. We do whatever we can to be liked and seen by that person. We morph into a dimmed down version of us. Now, this is the brain's coping mechanism. To not get thrown out of the cave, to have protection, safety. This makes sense why you're doing this. But meanwhile, you're being mean to yourself, saying, why am I doing this? I logically know this is bad, but I can't help myself. And that is where you're wrong. Your brain is doing exactly what it believes is going to help you, and you can help yourself. The best and number one way that you can help yourself right now is to remember this. No matter what I did today, the way that I think about myself today is going to determine how I show up and what I do tomorrow. Period. If you think of yourself today as someone who has no self-respect, you will show up like that tomorrow. If you think of yourself today as someone who's learning to stand in her standards, you will show up like that tomorrow. And you get to choose. And the crazy part, my beautiful Braveheart friend, is this. No matter how you showed up today, if you entertain the relationship again, if you open the can of worms again, if you quote unquote let him talk to you like that because that's his own thing, maybe you had sex with this person, whatever it is, no matter how you showed up today, you do not need to make it mean anything negative about yourself. You do not need to make it mean I have no self-respect. If a dear friend came to you, think about how you'd be there for her. Think about how you'd treat your daughter. I would never tell anyone that they have zero self-respect for themselves. I know there are people who say that, but I would never tell someone that I love that. I'd say, girl, I love you so much. I totally want better for you. And I know that you want better for you. I know that. This is such a hard cycle to get out of. And I know you feel like you have no self-respect, but listen, you're learning self-respect. It's something that you can cultivate and create, and you're learning. Give yourself some grace. You're learning to be someone who stands in her standards and stands in her power. And because of today, we know that what just happened isn't it. What just happened isn't getting us closer. So what do we want to do today? And what do we want to do tomorrow? And how do we want to do this differently? Not how do we want him to respond differently, but how do I want to do things differently tomorrow? And be honest with yourself. Be realistic with yourself, right? If you co-parent with someone, like many of my clients, you're not going to go just isolate yourself and put yourself in a bubble. You're not just going to not reach out about kid things, but perhaps you get clear about, here's what I'm reaching out about and here's what I'm not going to reach out about. No matter how he responds, this is how I'm going to respond. And perhaps it's done on a certain app and at certain times. There's all kinds of, clarity we can build around that. But get clear about what are the standards specifically for myself? What is self-respect for myself? And then the most important step is this. How am I going to think about myself today to cultivate different action tomorrow? Because being a dick and being mean to yourself today will only create more of that kind of behavior tomorrow. As you learn to move through this, and as you learn to release, as you learn to stand in your standards, to let go, to show up in a way that you're proud of, and to create a shit ton of self-respect, how will you think about yourself? How will you think about yourself when you fail? Seriously, you guys, think about that. How will you think about yourself when you fail? How will you think about yourself when you succeed? And how will you think about yourself everywhere in between those two? All right, my beautiful brave hearts. I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing week. Please journal through these questions if this is something that you're struggling with, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.